Daybreak Africa is your one-stop top-notch breakfast show that brings you all the interesting stories happening in and around Africa.
Because we have all the morning essentials,
including the latest news, sports, weather, and events. And of course, the people.
Daybreak Africa on television Nigerian.
Weekdays, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Alright, good morning everyone. Welcome to Daybreak Africa here on television Nigerian. My name is Mercy Joe.
And my name is Elvis Oga. A very beautiful good morning to you and many thanks for joining us. Good morning, Mercy Joe.
Good morning. It's Throwback Thursday.
Absolutely. I'm actually looking forward to what we're throwing back to.
Alright, yeah, we're throwing back to the INEC deregistration of about 74 political parties.
Wow, that was very smart and sharp of you. I didn't see that coming, but it's a very nice throwback because this matter started way back as
February.
February. Because and now we still have the issues tangling till now.
Because now, February 6th, the about 74 out of the 91 registered political parties that held and conducted elections
during the last polls
were actually deregistered. Now, amongst them, some of them, I think INEC claimed they didn't meet up to requirements. Some of them didn't win any of the elections. Okay, I can read out here. It said that the political parties performed poorly and failed to win at least a seat in the last general elections. Yeah, INEC also said the parties breached the requirements for registration of political parties under Section 225 of the Nigerian Constitution. Now, what does the Section 225 even say?
You know, I've been studying this issue. You know, this issue, like we say, started way back February 6th precisely, and then about 3-4 weeks ago, we have been having back and forth movement. I remember a particular edition of the program we were talking about a court allowing INEC to deregister some.
That's the High Court.
Yes, and then telling INEC that they do not have the power to deregister the other ones. And we were asking which of these judgments will INEC actually pick or obey now. And like you were trying to recall what are the Section 225 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended said, I saw some clauses concerning the presidential election, the governorship election, local government elections, down to the councillorship election. And I think one of the cases that these political parties are bringing forth now, which is very, very timely and it's something we need to look into, is the issue of the local government elections, because they agree to the fact that they have not really meet up with the requirement provided concerning the presidential election, governorship election, and all the other elections.
I think for more clarity and understanding for the people, for the audience, let's take a look at the Section 225 of the Constitution. Now, Section 225 of the Nigerian Constitution says, the Independent National Electoral Commission shall have power to deregister a political party for A, breach of any of the requirements for registration, failure to win at least 25% of votes cast in one state of the federation in a presidential election, or one local government of the state in a governorship election, failure to win at least one ward in the chairmanship election, one seat in the National or State House of Assembly election, or one seat in the councillorship election. Now you see all of that. Now I think these are the criteria that were supposed to be met up by most of those political parties that were not being met up, and that was why INEC had to deregister them.
Yeah, like I was saying, INEC have done a very beautiful job by actually compiling a list of political parties that actually meet up this requirement and the ones that did not meet up this requirement.
We shouldn't just be having a flood of political parties.
Nigerians have actually been clamoring for, if you recall my statement when we were discussing this particular issue the weeks back, I said Nigerians have actually been clamoring for a two-party system, where like what we have in the US, the Republicans and the Democrats. And out of 91, 74 have been taken out. We still have about close to 20 to deal with. You get. And like I said, one of the cases that these political parties, these 74 political parties, being led by the National Unity Party, is bringing forth now is the fact that, okay, fine, we did not meet up with the requirement, maybe say for the presidential, governorship, and all of these other elections that have been conducted already, but the local government elections are not being conducted. So what if we now meet those requirements when the local government elections are being conducted?
What happens there?
And INEC are saying they have already fulfilled their obligation as the electoral umpire to conduct the presidential, senatorial, governorship, and then assembly elections. Because if you look largely, INEC is not primarily responsible for the conduct of election of local government across state. You have respective electoral commissions across this different state, like you have for Ondo State Electoral Commission, Benue State, across different states. So INEC is coming from that angle now.
And you know, I think there were some sort of complaints that even this past elections that held, even the local the local government councils and all of that, they say that some of those political parties, in fact, their logos didn't even pop out in some of the ballot papers. That's some claims that they've been making.
That's it will be a case if those parties are actually existing in those local government in those domains. But if they are not existing, why would they put them all? Maybe they don't even have a candidate in that particular place. Like the place I come from, there are some parties you will never see them there. So I don't see any reason why they should appear in the ballot paper.
Because what has been happening over time is that people just emerge, come up and say, we have a political party, we have created this political party, is for this is our aim, and this is what we are achieving. But then have they met the criteria?
You know, there are a whole lot of scenarios and narratives we can bring into this, but I'm trying to reserve my words because we have a guests that are coming.
No, we have guests
that are coming.
Well, we have guests later on the program who will be talking vehemently on this issue.
Exactly.
So, I mean, we'll get to understand whose right it is to deregister and whose right it is not to deregister. Is it INEC? Is it the High Court of Appeal? Is it the Supreme Court?
You know, when I say those parties were making case for the local government elections, and I was like, it's very okay for us to talk about it now, because you see, constitutionally, every elected position in Nigeria is supposed to last for 4 years. But when it has to do with the local government elections, that's not the case. You see, people feel the state electoral bodies are in the hands, are tools in the hands of the executive governors of these various states, and then sometimes you have elections being conducted and people just sit for only 2 years in the office, where we have our caretaker chairman that serve about 2 years, or maybe sometimes they allow the DGSAs run the affairs of the local government and all. So this will open our eyes to see that, okay, local government elections are conducted as at when due, so that people serve out their full term and their full terms as well. And if it will also take us to the angle of people looking for how these state electoral bodies can actually be more independent, because if you look at what's been happening lately, whichever party the governor of a state comes from, that party sweeps all the elections in the state.
Definitely.
Except some few exceptions we see. I think we saw some around Kaduna last year, the last time they conducted local government elections then and all. But on a large scale, that's what basically happened. And then we should look for a way to strengthen these state electoral bodies so that we can have more confidence in them.
Well, I mean, all these political parties, we're seeing some kind of publicity now. The political parties you were never aware of, I'm sure we all know of them now. Because we could largely say we know some, we don't know some, but now we know all. Okay,
talking about guests, we're expecting Comrade Mark Adebayo. He's the acting national chairman of the COA party, and we're expecting him to join us live in the studio. Also, concerning our guests to talk about the deregistration of political parties on Daybreak Africa right here on television Nigeria for today, we're expecting Mr. Tanko Yunusa. He was a presidential candidate of the NCP, that's for 2019 presidential election.
Yeah, and he'll be joining us by live.
Live.
He'll be joining us live later in the program. So now it's time to get the news
from Susan
at
the news desk.
There are a lot of false information about the coronavirus. These are the facts. People of all ages can be affected by the coronavirus. However, older people and people with pre-existing medical conditions such as asthma, diabetes, heart diseases are more vulnerable to the disease. It is not for old people alone. Gargling salt and warm water or chewing garlic and ginger cannot prevent the virus. Drinking alcohol, hot lemon, palm oil or chloroquine will not kill the virus. The virus cannot be transmitted through mosquito bites. Antibiotics do not work against the viruses. Antibiotics work only against bacteria. Boiling pineapple peels, lime and ginger does not kill the virus. Putting raw onions in rooms will not ward off the virus. Using or spraying Dettol, special oils, and water all over your body cannot kill the virus. There is no scientific evidence that cooking, drinking, or eating any of these is an effective treatment for coronavirus. Do not self-medicate and take responsibility by sharing only verified messages from health authorities such as NCDC, Federal Ministry of Health, and WHO.
Good morning and welcome to AM News. I am Susan Achin. The total number of confirmed cases of coronavirus in Nigeria has surpassed the 50,000 mark. Although the nation has recorded lower numbers of new infections recently, the figure witnessed a sudden jump on Wednesday with the discovery of 593 more COVID-19 cases. In its latest update on the disease, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control (NCDC) puts the total number of cases at 50,488. The cases were recorded from 15 states and the Federal Capital Territory. Mr. Garba Shehu on Wednesday defended the invitation of Dr. Obadiah Melafia by the Department of State Services (DSS) over his recent comment on the Boko Haram insurgency. In his appearance in Politics Today, the senior special assistant to the president on media and publicity believes the DSS took the right decision. It had been earlier reported that the DSS had invited Melafia, a former deputy governor of the Central Bank Nigeria (CBN), at least on 2 occasions. Melafia was invited and grilled over his claims on a radio program that the insurgents in the northeast were enjoying the support of some governors. This sparked an outcry with calls for investigation, while the National Broadcasting Commission (NBC) imposed a sanction of 500,000 naira on the station over what it called unprofessional broadcast. In his reaction, Shehu took a swipe at those criticizing the DSS for the invitation extended to the former CBN deputy governor. According to him, people find it difficult to adhere to the laws of the country when they are compelled to be law-abiding in foreign nations. Meanwhile, the management and officials of the Nigeria Football Federation will undergo coronavirus pandemic tests at the Secretariat of the Federation Sunday, Dankaro House, National Stadium Complex, Abuja, on Thursday. General Secretary of the Federation, Dr. Mohammed Sanusi, addressed the management and staff on Wednesday, informing them that this had become necessary after a member of the management tested positive for the virus. After the test, the offices and the entire complex will be disinfected in line with the protocols of the COVID-19. During that time, offices will be closed and employees will work from home. When the results are out, those who tested negative will immediately resume work at the Secretariat, while anyone who tests positive will be required to self-isolate for the period stipulated in the COVID-19 protocols put in place by the federal government. And now moving on to the entertainment scene, Fireboy DML has dropped his second studio album today, August 2020, titled Apollo, which he announced 2 days ago in a tweet. The 17-track album includes Eli, Tattoo, and New York City Girl, as well as appearances from D-Smoke, Wande Cole, and Olamide. Speaking on the album, Fireboy went on to thank his family and team for their contributions to the project. Well, congratulations to Fireboy on the album, and we're sure to expect some fire on this one. And that's it on AM News. I am Susan Achin. Daybreak Africa will continue shortly. Stay with us.
body bang, your 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 body bang. And I give us when you take a selfie, when you take a pose, you the ginger the body. Every time you bend the low, I'm on girl when you take a selfie. When you take a pose, you the ginger the boy. Every time you bend the low.
Want to shoot a dope music video at 50% discount?
50% discount?
Yeah, 50% discount. Bougie Down Television Nigerian with world-class equipment and a badass expert crew.
Okay, place your camera now. Shh. Continue.
Where was I? Everything extra.
Carolina, you bada.
Hurry up.
I know say you know this thing you did do, my girl, say you know. Your body is big and I know say you know.
Welcome back. This is still Daybreak Africa here on television Nigeria. Now it's time to go across the dailies to see what is topping. Yeah.
This moment we're no longer train back to anything, but we're talking about
what's trending, what's happening in the now.
I actually remember that this month is actually flying so fast. Today's 20th already.
When I checked the calendar this morning, I was like, what's happening?
All right, let's take a look at headlines we have from the Nation newspaper, which happens to be the first national daily we'll be taking a look at this morning. And the banner headline we have from the Nation newspaper says, UN, AU, US, ECOWAS, others reject Mali coup. President detained after resignation. Soldiers must restore order. West African leaders meet today. And then beside the picture story, FEC okays 5.49 billion naira for students or scientists rather. And then below that, new dates for Eagles matches. And then below that we have killings persist in southern Kaduna. And above the nameplate, EFCC gets petition on Akpabio Ponde, 81.5 billion naira NDDC fraud alleged. That story can be found on page 25 of the Nation newspaper. Beside that, protest over escape of Oyo killer suspect. IG deploys detectives. You can check page 29 of the Nation newspaper for details of that particular headline. And I'll take this last one here. It's Bayern versus PSG in UCL. That's UEFA Champions League final. And that story can be found on page 25. The follow-up to that story, epic clash on Sunday. I don't know what your stand on football is, but it's going to be a very perfect showdown or showpiece for people who are into football.
My stand is here.
That does it for the Nation newspaper this morning.
All right, let's take a look at the Daily Times newspaper this morning. The big headline here, praises, criticisms as Nigerians debate CAMA. That's on page 4. Below the templates. Loans. How banks recovered 50.32 million naira loans from defaulters within 9 days. How that happened? Well, that's on the Daily Times newspaper. Moving to Labour, NLC berates military over alleged moves to silence critics. That's on page 4. And I'll take the editorial story here. The need to end ASU strike. Well, that's the much on the front newspaper of the Daily Times.
All right, we'll now move quickly to the business day this morning. And I have this particular interesting headline here that has something to do with the resumption of international flights scheduled for the 29th of this month, with the caption, Lessons for Nigeria from Gatwick Airport as international flights resumed August 29. You know, when we got the news of resumption of international flight for 29, I was talking about some of the things we can learn from the resumption of local flights, and if those things can be carried over to the international flight.
And you know, even yesterday we were talking about people who are already anticipating August 29 to travel to go and make their people and what have you.
All right, besides that, stock market volatility fueled by companies with locked-in shares. And I'll take this last one here, which happens to be the inside story. FG's Lagos Partners FSD Africa, CBI to engage on capacity building for sustainable finance. That can be found on page 4. And that does it for the Business Day newspaper for this morning as well.
All right, let's take a look at the Daily Sun newspaper. The headline here, EFCC begins probe on NDDC Akpabio. Group 6 suspension of minister, dissolution of management. That's on page 6. Above the nameplate, Magu, drama, as security operatives whisk lawyer away. I said Magu and you stared at me.
I had to stare at you.
The EFCC boss, that's on page 6. Well, below the nameplate, Ohaneze will drive Igbo President project, plans 5 million naira man to match. That's on page 25. Still beside that, RGP deploys detectives to track Oyo suspected serial killer. That's on page 5. Edo, APC PDP in hot exchange over police deployment to Okwila. That's on page 20. Still below that, coup. ECOWAS suspends Mali, shuts land, air borders. That's on page 26. And I'll take this last story here. Chinese loans, reps to grill Malami Ahmed Tuesday. That's on page 3. Well, that does it for the Daily Sun newspaper this morning.
Well, I'll move quickly over, excuse me, to the Guardian newspaper this morning. And the banner headline we have from the Guardian newspaper reads, National security threatened as 8.4 billion naira scanner project stalls. Customs resorts to 100% physical examination. Ease of doing business suffers total collapse. Stakeholders lament influx of illicit arms and drugs. Below that, which is actually beside the picture story, students march for reopening of tertiary institutions, vow to ground economy. That can be found on page 3. And yesterday we also saw some calls and then clamor by some major players in the entertainment industry for the reopening of cinemas. And I was like, it's timely, because we have almost every other sector reopening already, and then it seems like we've forgotten about the cinemas.
Because if the markets can be open, if the domestic flights can start operating,
and then
if
we're talking about international flights already.
Cinema.
All right, below that, my appointment as Unilag acting vice chancellor in order, says Shoyombo. That story can be found on page 37 of this National Daily. And beside that, which is the other side of the picture story, confusion over Mamandarao's health trip. Check page 9 of this daily for detail of that particular story. Village head, non-Nigerian rather, 9 others killed in fresh Kaduna attacks. Sad one there. And then somebody who has actually lived up to 90 years and above and is being killed in like clashes. It's really,
someone
really sad.
who have lived for that such a long age and then just finally just died because the person was killed, not because he was even sick.
That's really sad. And then below that, ECOWAS imposes economic diplomatic sanctions on Mali. Junta unveils ruling council decision as international community deplores coup. You can pick a copy of the Guardian newspaper to get the details of these particular stories, or all of these stories we brought your way, and even more from the Guardian newspaper.
All right, taking a look at the This Day newspaper quickly. The big headline here: ACF urges federal government to arrest worsening insecurity in northern states. Cautions leaders against inflammatory utterances. Boko Haram adopts 100 people in Kukawa, Borno. And below the template, ECOWAS leaders meet today over coup in Mali. Above the nameplate, CBN, Forex inflow declined by $2.43 billion to $9.72 billion in April. Wow, so much for Forex. NSC, OPS, unite to fight hike in cargo surcharge. That's on page 6 of This Day newspaper. And I'll take this final story here, sad one here. MPAN, Tinubu Mon Nan chairman. Wada Maida, that's on page 5. Well, that does it for the This Day newspaper this morning.
Well, now we'll take a look at headlines from the Punch newspaper this morning, which happens to be the last publication on our desk, and we take it from top to the bottom. NPDC planning 500,000 barrels per day production. That is coming from Kiari, and it's on the page 22 of the Punch newspaper. Below that, Sokapo lampoons ACF as chair, says North faces hardest times. You can check page 2 of the Punch newspaper for details of that particular story. Besides that, ECOWAS suspends Mali, blocks borders, soldier declares self-president, and that can be found on page 9. And since yesterday, we've been getting report, or every national daily is giving a reportage of what has transpired in Mali precisely on Tuesday.
Yeah, I even watched the video yesterday, and I'm like, okay.
I was in talks with Jojo yesterday concerning that on news expression. And
behind closed doors or opened doors?
Opened doors. And she was like, how come a president can be arrested? I said, that's what coup d'etat is all about.
It happens.
Even when it was a military dispensation, imagine a military head of state being arrested by people, by coup plotters, and then we're talking about a civilian president, not a head of state this time around. So that's what coup does. All right, beside that, MTEF, Senate threatens to sanction CBN, NPA, FIRS, others. You can find that on page 21 of the Punch newspaper. And the big bold headline from the Punch newspaper this morning reads, Ethiopian Airlines defies FG, resumes flights to London Friday. That it's on the page 21 rather of the Punch newspaper. First flight depart Lagos 11:40 a.m. Friday from 619,561 naira. Second flight 4:30 p.m. from 390,269 naira. No commercial flight has been cleared to lift passengers from Nigeria, federal government declares. And now, why the Ethiopian Airlines are already going ahead to do this when the federal government is saying no airline has been cleared to lift passengers?
No, because the date is what?
29.
Today is what?
20th. So tomorrow is 21. So I don't know.
It's still till 29.
Maybe they want to attract some sanctions. Who knows? All right, below the picture story, Shoyumbo begs Unilag unions for support in Maidan meeting. And then I have these ones here below that. Serial killer, protesters storm command headquarters, IG deploys detectives. You can check page 14 of the Punch newspaper for that particular story. Ogun prophet arraigned for defiling 15-year-old girl during spiritual cleansing. That story is on the page 4. And I'll take this last one here concerning the Ekiti State Governor. Fayemi disowns viral presidential campaign posters by local government boss. That story is on page 13 of the Punch newspaper. And that particular story actually got me. Yesterday, I logged on Twitter and I saw that Fahimi was trending. And I checked, I saw his campaign posters flooding everywhere.
Well, anyway.
All right, that does it for the Punch newspaper. And I guess that's the last national
dailies we have this morning. And then earlier in the program we talked about having two guests on the program to talk about the deregistration of the political parties in the country. So right now we'll go on the break and we'll be right back with our guests in the studio.
Your body bang, bang, your body bang, 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 your body bang, your body bang. And I give us when you take a selfie, when you take a pose, you the ginger the boy. Every time you bend the low, I'm okay when you take a selfie. When you take a pose, you the ginger the boy. Every time you bend it low.
Want to shoot a dope music video at 50% discount?
50% discount?
Yeah, 50% discount. Bougie down to Television Nigerian with world-class equipment and a badass expert crew.
Oga, face your camera now. Shh. Continue.
Where was I? Everything extra.
Carolina, you bada.
Hurry up.
I know say you know this thing you did do, my girl, say you know. The body is big and I know say you know.
Now the match don't start. Today na him first catch coronavirus. Him pass am to Sarah. Sarah go market and she dash Adamu. Adamu carry the virus run come give him children for house. Now so the children carry the virus enter playground. From playground, it can't enter grandpa body. Grandpa take over, pass and give him friends as they shake hand for road. Now so grandpa friends carry coronavirus go their house. Before you know, they don't throw away and give everybody for yard. Now so corona enter box 18 and he say go! My people, if we give coronavirus chance, it go win all of us. Protect yourself and your family. Stay inside your house and make sure say you dey wash your hand with soap and water at least 12 times a day. If you get cough and fever and it dey hard you to breathe, call 0800 026 7662. Corona dey kill. Make we careful
My name is Chiwendu Osisiago, presenter at Television Nigerian Business Daily. In a globalizing world, ours is to keep you engaged, informed, and educated on contemporary happenings in the business world. We therefore command a special audience of business-minded viewers who are eager to know more about business. I mean, your business. Why don't you take advantage of our special affordable offer to let the world know about your concepts, your goods, and of course, your services? You can call us on 080-3071-6959 or 070-3234-9054. You can also visit us at Television Nigerian in Guzapi, Abuja, and follow us on all the social media handles on Facebook, YouTube, and of course on Twitter at Television Nigerian. Your business is our concern.
Is Television Nigerian, a broadcast network committed to serving you the very best in online and offline television programming. Situated in the serene environment of Guzape, Abuja FCT, TVN, as it is fondly called, caters to a wide variety of audience via carefully orchestrated mind-blowing programs in the areas of fashion, business, politics, entertainment, religion, movies, food and health, culture and lifestyle, events around the globe, sports and foreign news. Whatever your inclination, we've got you completely covered with programs like Issues of the Moment, The Patriot, Daybreak Nigeria, Matter Africa, TVN Business Time, Healthy Living, From the Cradle, Stay Inspired, Entertainment Gist, Movie Hour, Hits Paradise, among others. All designed to keep you thoroughly informed, entertained, at the edge of your seats and yearning for more. A tour around our domain will reveal through a highly dedicated staff force and a state-of-the-art facility and equipment for high-definition quality broadcast, making our station your #1 choice in advertising your business and propagating your ideas. We are currently on NigComSat doing our test transmission for takeoff in the nearest future. Television Nigerian is located in Nigeria at Television Nigerian House, Guzape Hilltop Mansion, beside Guzape White House, Guzape Abuja FCT, and in the United Kingdom at 45 Ancient House, 48 Aerodrome Road, Beaufort Park, Colindale, London. For inquiries,
Alright, welcome back. This is still Daybreak Africa here on Television Nigeria. Earlier on, we talked about introducing 2 guests in the studio with us today. We have live in the studio with us this morning in person of Comrade Mark Adebayo. He's in the studio here with us. He's the acting national chairman of COA Party. And then join us live online. It's Mr. Tanko Yunusa. He's the 2019 presidential candidate of the NCP. That's the National Conscience Party.
Good morning, comrade.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, good to have you in the studio this morning. You know, there's this thing that has actually been in the front burner concerning elections and then political parties in the country, the registration of political parties in the country. Briefly, we want you to give a general overview what your understanding of the registration of political parties in Nigeria is all about.
Well, thank you so much. INEC constitutionally has been empowered to register political parties, and in some instances also has the powers to deregister political parties. Okay. So that political parties that have not met the constitutional threshold set for political parties. So, but the current situation that we are having is the question is, did INEC follow through the constitutional due processes before the registering, before the last exercise, the registering political party? So the answer to us, obviously, clearly, is no.
Okay,
and that is where the...
I'm very sorry to cut you short there. Now, there has been this general talks about saying INEC did not follow due process before actually calling off to say they're registering political parties. Can you give us in simple terms what should have been the necessary due procedures INEC should have followed?
Okay, let me give you an example of COA Party, for instance. Okay. Now, the section 225A that INEC depended on to deregister political parties states what a political party should have to remain afloat as a political party. One of which is to win at least a councillorship seat in a local government election. Now, in August 2018, COA Party won a councillorship seat in the Amosu ward of Okigwe local government of Imo State. You understand? The tenure of that councillor subsists until August 2021. Now, on July 12th, 2019, we took the precaution of writing to INEC, attaching his certificate of return, his ID card, the list of all the winners of that election. We attached to the letter. On 12th July 2019, we sent to INEC to inform them that, look, we have won this seat in this local government. 8 months after, February 6th, INEC deregistered COA Party.
So you're trying to say now, the letter you sent in July was not acknowledged by INEC?
It was acknowledged. I have the copies here.
Okay. Of INEC
acknowledging it. We have INEC acknowledged the letters, but those went ahead against the spirit and letters of the Constitution to deregister COA Party. That's what we are talking about. Violating due processes. Is one of the factors in violating. If the Constitution says you must at least this is the certificate of return of our candidate attached to these letters, not even one letter, letters sent to INEC. The last one was 14th August. So acknowledged by the Office of the National Commissioner and Chairman Information and Voter Education Committee. We sent this latest one because the Barrister Festus Okoye went on air to say that the commission did not have any record of Kowa party winning anything. But this is INEC's stamp acknowledging 12th July 2019 that we sent a letter to them informing them notice of Kowa party's victory at the Imo State local government election conducted in August 2018, acknowledged by the commission.
Okay, comrade, the question now still is, despite your letter being acknowledged by INEC in July and then the registration of the political parties came around in February, the question still remains, what procedures and what protocols do you think the INEC should have followed through that you think that it didn't follow through?
Number one is due diligence. You know, if INEC did its due diligence very well, it will recognize the fact that, okay, there are parties that have won some things. You know, it didn't do that. Now, before deregistering political parties, you need to inform them the reasons why they are being deregistered. Okay. Maybe, for instance, if they are written to Kowa, look, you have not won anything, we will remind them that we have won something somewhere, and we have told you have been informed. It is now your duty to confirm from the Imo State Independent Electoral Commission whether the certificate you have presented is genuine or fake. You understand? You know, there's an interface between INEC and the State Independent Electoral Commissions. And the State Independent Electoral Commissions are a creation of the law, of the Constitution. You know, so if the Constitution says if you have won something, local government election, you remain afloat as a political party, INEC has no right to register. Number two, some parties, we went to court, and the case was pending in court. Against that pendency of case in court, INEC went ahead.
February? When
that was May last year.
Okay.
The direction came on February
this year.
You don't do that. You cannot be supplanting the constitution you are supposed to uphold. If a case is in court, the status quo remains. You wait, but for you to now ambush the court and now deregister political parties, despite the fact that they have a case in court barring you from deregistering them, you now ambush the court and then went ahead. So it's one of the reasons why the appeal court had to reverse that registration.
Okay. All right. Briefly, before we move on to the next question, there was something you said when you said INEC didn't follow due diligence before registering these parties. From statistics, we had about 91 political parties that participated in the last election. Out of these 91, they said they are deregistering only 74. So I'm saying that there's a level of follow-up that INEC did for them to actually pick some 74 out of 91.
If INEC did due diligence, it will recognize, having been duly served, that there's a case pending in court. INEC would not go ahead to try to supplant the judicial processes by deregistering political parties as an ambush against the court processes. It's not done anywhere.
Okay, what you're trying to say is that if a political party is already in court for
a certain case,
probably the victory over their any position or whatever. If you're saying if you're already in court, INEC does not have any right to still deregister that political party that is already in court. Is that what you're saying?
It does not, under the law, have any right. Once you have been sued, not to take a particular action, and you, without without waiting for the outcome of that process, you now went and did what you have been told not to do by a court of competent jurisdiction. You know, it is legal, unconstitutional, ultra vires.
So what you're saying is INEC countered another law, countered the law.
Actually, it's a well-established legal process that you do not act against a pending case in court. You do not. You wait.
You don't know where the verdict will go.
They will go. So if INEC had waited and gone to court to defend itself, that I will do this because this is what, so nobody knew what would have happened. Maybe they would have won, but they went ahead. I think it is executive lawlessness for anybody to act that way.
Let's uncover something between the state electoral bodies and the national independent electoral bodies, because this election that have been one you made mention in Imo State, it's coming from the state electoral body. What are the process that the national electoral body and the state electoral body needs to have so that this transcription of result will have to be smooth? Because I'm seeing that maybe INEC, like you said, you were talking about, they needed to maybe have some level of connection or communication with the state electoral body to ascertain the authenticity of this certificate of return.
Yeah, you see, naturally you expect an interface between these two independent bodies. We have the National Electoral independent National Electoral Commission. We have state independent electoral commissions, 36 of them.
Yes.
Now, you expected, naturally it is expected that there will be an interface between them. And if a party comes and submits a result that I have won something somewhere, I mean, it's the easiest thing in the world for INEC to contact the state chapter of that state to go to the Independent State Electoral Commission and get a confirmation of this type of certificate of return. So, upon which you should act. But having taken the precaution of the party writing to you, it is now left for you to go and confirm if this is genuine or not. But not just go ahead and register political parties without, and you are saying that we have not won anything. And for INEC to go on air last week to say that they do not have a record of Kowa Party winning anything in any state of this nation, it's marks of insincerity. I've shown you acknowledged copies of the letters written to INEC since July 2019. 8 months after, parties were registered and Kowa Party was involved. Almost all other parties were already in court to stop their deregistration. You went ahead and did that. That is where INEC got it wrong.
All right, so many uncovering happening in the studio, and we told you that we're expecting 2 guests, one live in the studio, another via Skype or Zoom, and we have
Mr. Tanko Unisa with us. Good morning, Mr. Tanko.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
Maybe please guys us check if your mic is muted. Okay, let's get back to comrade.
Set up Mr. Tanko very well.
So now, I mean, first of all, I think the first question I even wanted to actually ask is, now, did the registration of the political parties by INEC, firstly, to be very candid and frank, is it constitutional?
INEC has been given the constitutional right and power and authority to deregister political parties that fail to meet a certain threshold set by the Constitution. It is a function of the Constitution. We never went to court. Our party never went to court to challenge the authority or powers of INEC to deregister. What we have said that it has exercised that power, wrongly, illegally. That despite the fact that we have a right, we have attained a status to allow us remain afloat as a political party, INEC went ahead against the law to register Kowa Party.
But your case is in the court now.
Yeah, but you see, what happened was that when the National Commissioner on Information and Voter Education went to channels and said that Kowa Party does not have a claim that the commission was not in possession of any document to suggest that Kowa Party won anything. So we said, okay, maybe we could resolve this administratively. That was why we wrote the final letter that, look, we have these documents. We are not interested in engaging in a brick bath with INEC. We are looking for an administrative way out of court settlement for these things. So we said, okay, sir, these are the documents as presented to your commission since last year. And we added, we attached 3 other communications between us and INEC just to find a way to redress this thing. So we attached to it. We believe that Barrister Okoye, being a man of honor, will act upon his promise and probably get back to the party.
All right, let's talk about the contrast of judgment by the High Court and Appeal Court. What do you think must have preceded this different judgment on the same issue?
Well, the Appeal Court is a superior court to the High Court.
Yes.
So if the Appeal Court saw that the High Court did not do well, one of the things that I found really curious and strange was the fact that judges, courts, they don't take kindly to you violating their orders. So I wonder why the Federal High Court, in its wisdom, decided to overlook the fact that the court has been contempted on, that it has been there's been a contempt by INEC against its ruling. You have a case pending on your table, and then an institution of government went ahead to act contrary to lay down procedures of waiting for you to deliver your judgment before taking action. I went and ambushed you and took the action, and the Federal High Court didn't see anything wrong in that. So the higher court saw that as and the president of the Appeal Court didn't have kind words for the Federal High Court, because they wondered, how could you allow such impunity to happen, and then you overlooked it, and then you went ahead to grant a favorable judgment to an institution that has contemptually treated your court. So that is it. Okay. You know, all these things. I am not one of the people who will contest INEC's powers to the register, because it was given to it by the Constitution. Yeah, definitely. What I disagree with is the processes.
Right. Do you think this particular issue just highlighted has to do with the legal representative of the both parties, maybe the plaintiff and then the person that is bringing this case?
I think there's a kind of miscommunication, probably between the INEC leadership and the legal department, that is supposed to guide the commission on what to do. That when the case is in court, you don't act against that you have to wait until the judgment has been done. You send representation. It is on record that throughout, since May 2019 that the case has been in court, INEC never for once sent a legal representation until the day that the judge would deliver her judgment, and suddenly they sent 2 sons to come to court. But the judge went ahead to deliver her judgment saying that INEC should stay action, should never take any action. But it has taken the action.
Okay.
You know.
Let me ask this question. If the commission should relist your political party now, will your party withdraw
immediately
the case?
We will withdraw the 2 cases immediately, instantaneously. You know, we are not. You see, look, let me tell you something. It was this same INEC that taught political parties the usefulness of the alternative dispute resolution mechanism. That look, you don't take every matter to court. That was why, rather than go to court, Kowa Party was the last party to go to court. Rather than quickly head to court, we could have gone to court on the 7th of February. But we said, look, let's remind them. No, maybe that's
2 letters.
2 letters.
Okay, now, have they responded to any of the
recent letters? None of the letters. None.
The recent one.
That's the problem we are having. None.
And you and your party, you guys have gone forth, gone all the way to make sure this letter get through to the INEC.
I have personally ensured that those letters. That's why you find INEC stamps on our letters.
But then still no response.
No response. The only response we will get was that we have been registered. And another response is that you see on here they said COA does not have that the INEC is not in possession of any document to suggest, to confirm that COA. So we said, okay, now let's take it in our silence. Believe that this is an honest error, honest mistake. It can happen.
I'm sorry, comrade. We have to go on a break now so that we can comment with Mr. Tanko Yunisa. So let's go on the break now. I'll be right back.
Your body bang, bang, your body bang, 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 your body bang, your body bang. And I give us when you take a selfie, when you take a pose, you the ginger the boy. Every time you bend the low, I'm okay when you take a selfie. When you take a pose, you the ginger the boy. Every time you bend the low.
Want to shoot a dope music video at 50% discount?
50% discount?
Yeah, 50% discount. Bougie Down to Television Nigerian with world-class equipment and a badass expert crew.
Oga, face your camera now. Shh. Continue.
Where was I? Everything extra.
Carolina, you bada.
Hurry up.
I know say you know this thing you did do, my girl, say you know. Your body is big and I know say you know.
All right, welcome back. Well, still on the matter of the registration of political parties in the country. I mean, I don't know, the network is really quite bad for Mr.
The network won't
Tanko,
let us have a conversation with Mr. Tanko. But very interestingly, we still have comrade Mark Adebayo, who is the acting national chairman of the COA party. And he just let us know that he doubles as the spokesperson of the CUPP, Coalition of
United Political Parties.
All right. I want us to talk about the compliance to judgment both by INEC and political parties in Nigeria. How would you rate that?
Yeah, well, you see, Political parties do not have the institutional covering to disobey a court orders.
Okay.
They do not have the kind of political parties don't have the capacity to disobey court orders. You just have to obey. But INEC has proven, irrespective, you just have to obey. You have no choice than to obey, because you are a creation of law. Political parties are a creation of the law.
But is that what your party is doing now?
Yes, that's what we are doing. That's why we decided to first engage INEC
through letter,
through communication, through correspondences, none whatsoever. Even we were waiting for them to invite us. You know, if our lawyer even submitted a letter to them, acknowledge it's here. You know, it's here.
You have lots of evidence.
A lot. Our lawyer told them, look, this is the last letter we are writing to you. If you don't respond to this one, we will go to court. Received by INEC, 21st February 2020. That's the last letter.
Okay, so after this 21st, no other letter has been
except the one we took there last week. Okay. This one that was acknowledged 14th August. Okay. That was as a prelude, as a result of in response to Barrister Okoye's call, challenge to order, produce an evidence that your party wants something. Then we will release your party.
Let me ask this question. Do you think that Nigeria should continue to maintain this multi-party system? You cannot
shake up the political space. You cannot. Why? It's not everybody. Look, if you decide to contest today, you sitting down here today, you don't stand a chance in PDP or APC. You do not. I said, well, of course, I said we have kept some billions somewhere. That is reality. But Kowa Party can provide you a platform upon which you can express your political, you can give expression to your political aspirations.
So how does
you cannot choke up. Look, in 2011, Kowa Party produced the minority leader in the Bayelsa State House of Assembly in 2011. So he couldn't have stood a chance in either of these behemoths or these big parties. He couldn't. So we need to open up the space for people who have not stolen billions to now run on big so-called big political parties.
But then in scenarios or cases where most of these political parties that are going to emerge, that can put up potential people or persons in political seats, and they haven't met up to criteria, I mean, at that point in time, they should be deregistered.
INEC should come out and tell us which parties have not met the criteria.
Okay.
Parties that do not have national headquarters in Abuja, parties that do not have representation in 24 states of the federation, parties that have not won anything, parties that look. You need to see some of these new generation political parties, like ANRP, like We the People, like some parties. You need to see their manifesto. You need to see their constitution. You need to see the creativity. You need to see the revolutionary, agenda that they have for this country. You need to see that. Yeah. You need to see the way they have packaged themselves. You need to see their offices. You need to see their leadership. You need to see their focus. You need to see their vision.
I think
you cannot kill such political parties. Yeah. And now let me tell you something. Now you don't say you don't register a political party, on the eve of a general election, and you deregister the party after the election saying that it has not won anything. It doesn't work that way. Parties that have not been in existence for 2 years, the election cycle has not been exhausted. Part of the election cycle is this do and undo election that many of the 74 political parties have now been removed from the scene. You need to wait.
Are you trying to say there has to be some level of a timing when we are registering political parties, like when it's very too close to elections?
That shouldn't be allowed. It shouldn't be registered.
No, they can register, but at least let them survive a bit. Let them stabilize. A new political party, you register on the eve of the election, and you expected them to win governorship or win anything in this country, in a heavily privatized political environment, monetized political environment. Hey, look.
So you're asking for sentiments?
Not sentiment. We are asking for some allowance of time. Okay. To allow parties to survive for like 4 years. Let the election cycle run itself. If you participate in 2019 and participate in 2023 and you have nothing to show for it, INEC can go ahead and register you. You understand? But
would that lead to some level of amendment to our Electoral Act? Because maybe from the laws on ground now, it does not permit that. It does not recognize that.
It is just for INEC to display responsibility. That is all. It doesn't have. You don't have to. It is only sensible for you to allow a child to learn how to sit, how to crawl, and how to walk, then how to run. You cannot compare a party registered in 2018 with parties that have been in existence since 1998.
There was something.
It is unfair.
There was something you said.
There
was something you said that when she asked if we should really look into maybe have a lesser number of political parties, and you say it may not really all go well in Nigeria because of the way the political sphere has been monetized. And I wanted to ask, or I'm asking now, how does clients who have been running on 2 political party system have been able to do that? Like the America, they have just the Republican and the Democrat, and some people have been clamoring for such scenario in Nigeria, and you're saying it may not be okay to do that in Nigeria. So what are they doing differently there and that we can't do here?
What is happening? There's nothing different in America. America has about 500 political parties. Okay. Only 2 have been interchanging powers. And the same thing for UK. You may have Conservative and Labour, but there are many other political parties on ground. And this thing is not about sentiment, my sister. It's about common sense. Okay. It's about common sense. It's about saying that, okay, I registered a party yesterday. There's an election today. It doesn't make sense for you to deregister that party the 3rd day because it did not win election in that election that you have conducted.
So that means if we're talking about...
And then we have to look at capacity. Parties that have demonstrated capacity in the past, that they are able to win elections.
But you're aware that the law cannot be changed.
The law can be amended?
Based on, it can be amended, but probably for now, since this is the registration of parties. Now, you said something earlier on, and I want to ask if you actually will concur with me or in agreement with me. You said INEC should come out to say what requirements these particular political parties that they have deregistered haven't met. My question is, apart from your party raising voices about them winning a particular election twice, you've won 2 elections, 2 seats. Yes. Now, apart from your own party talking about they have won, other political parties that haven't made noise or aren't making any noise or raising any voices, don't you feel that they themselves already understand the requirements or criteria that they haven't met, that has met? Because even before INEC will say all of this, you yourself, like a father, you will know what it is that you haven't done correctly. Am I right?
Yeah, you're right. You see, the things that, like I said, I am not contesting the powers of INEC to deregister. If a party has not met the requirements of law, well, INEC can hit his hammer. You know, that's not the issue. But the thing is that all of us, 74, got the same letter, the same word is everything. Not that we are deregistered because you don't have an office in Abuja. Not that you are deregistered because you have not won anything. Not that we have been registered because you don't have presence in 24 states. No. So all of us committed the same offense, the same letter. Only the addressees were different. That's it. You know, after they did verification, came to our office, and you cannot go to a party's office, do verification, and say the party does not have an office, for instance. Because we have been hearing national commissioners of INEC going on here and say that mention the parties that do not have registered offices in Abuja. On our letterhead, you will see our address there, you know, and we wrote to INEC. And each time we change addresses, we write to INEC. We are moved to so place. That's why it's good to keep records. If INEC says we are not aware, we will produce the letter acknowledged by them. You understand me? Look, parties have to be disciplined. Parties have to be up and doing. Parties have to meet the threshold of the Constitution. You understand me? Yeah. So, what we are demanding in the exercise of its power is for INEC not to enforce law illegally. Okay. You cannot enforce illegal instrument illegally and expect it to stand. The challenges we are having, the court cases we are having, is because people believe that INEC did not follow due processes in doing what it did. Otherwise, everybody will just have, like you said, if I know my party does not have an office in Abuja, that we do not have membership register, that we do not have structures in 24. Kowa Party has structures in 35 states of the Federation and the FCT, except for Nasarawa State. 35 states, except for Nasarawa, including FCT. We have structures all over all these states. Even that Nasarawa State, we still contested. We have people who contested election in 2019. You understand me? So, if you have parties who do not, like I've heard some national commissioners complain that there are parties who don't even participate in elections. If you don't participate in elections, you have no right to assist. All right. You understand me?
Comrade, we are running out of time now. But then I love the statement you made. Like you've made 2 statements now. Like the advocacy that it's an illegal grant for INEC to actually deregister your party in particular. Exactly. And then for you actually saying it's constitutional for INEC to deregister political parties that haven't met criteria. They require basic requirements, and then your party will obey any of INEC's verdicts or anything coming from the INEC. So those are two things that you have said: advocacy for illegality.
For legality, for them to follow due processes,
they should follow
in doing whatever they want, the exercise of their powers given to them by the Constitution. They must not violate the Constitution,
and they should exercise it legally.
Legally. Follow due process. Nobody will argue with that. Nobody.
Exactly, nobody. All right, thank you very much, Comrade, for being on the program with us this morning.
Thank you for having
me. We grace to understand what will be the final results of all of this.
Everybody's actually watching, and then there are some certain issues he has raised here. We expect INEC to actually come out and say, okay, this is the offense of this party regarding the powers of the Constitution, Section 225.
And acknowledge their letters
as well. Then when you go to another party, okay, for this party they don't have a structure here. This party have not won election. This party has not done that. This party, so that people will understand, so that we don't have cases like this. Because according to Comrade, his party has won elections. They have structures in Abuja in 35 states except Nasarawa alone. So he's not seeing any reason why there should be among parties that they should be deregistered. Even though for want of time, we'll have a whole lot to talk about, especially the function of IPAC as a spokesperson for CUPP. I know you have much to talk about that, but our time is up.
Time will permit us.
We hope to see you again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Comrade.
You are doing a wonderful job here.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, it's time to go across Africa for news across.
Welcome to News Across Africa on Daybreak Africa. The international community condemned the rebellion in Mali and called for the immediate release of the ousted President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta, who resigned on Wednesday. Rebellion soldiers detained the now former president a day earlier, throwing the fragile nation already fighting against jihadism in the Sahel into further crisis. Musa Faki Mahamat, chairman of the African Union Commission, strongly condemned all attempts at anti-constitutional change and the use of violence, calling for respect for republican institutions. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa also condemned the unconstitutional change of government. The Economic Community of West African States has announced immediate measures, including the closure of borders and the halting of all economic, commercial, and financial flows and transactions. The communiqué announces that Mali is suspended from all ECOWAS governing bodies until constitutional order is restored and pledges to sanction the mutineers and their supporters. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has given his full support to the African Union and ECOWAS to reach a negotiated and peaceful solution. A video conference of ECOWAS heads of state on the situation in Mali will be held on Thursday under the chairmanship of President of Niger, Mamadou Issoufou. The United States also condemned the mutiny and called for the arrested officials to be released. The European Union, meanwhile, said the fight against jihadism and security in the Sahel was a priority. South Africa lifted its ban on alcohol and cigarette sales on Tuesday as the country eased coronavirus measures to level 2. Cigarette, tobacco, and alcohol sales were prohibited to prevent people from sharing cigarettes and to reduce the burden on hospitals to deal with alcohol-related injuries. South Africa is the continent's worst affected country by the pandemic, with over 580,000 reported cases. With cases declining, President Cyril Ramaphosa announced on Saturday restrictions would ease. It means bars will be allowed to reopen and small firm and social visits would be permitted. But there is still a 10 p.m. curfew, and wearing a face mask is compulsory in public areas. International borders will remain closed and gatherings are still capped at 50 people. Ramaphosa said that the number of newly confirmed cases had dropped from a peak of over 12,000 to an average of 5,000 over the past week. He called on South Africans not to let their guard down or become complacent despite signs of hope. The announcement should bring a much-needed boost to South Africa's ailing economy, which was in recession before the pandemic and is now expected to contract by over 6%. But South Africa's main opposition, Democratic Alliance Party, said the economy had already been killed. Mohamed Abdelaziz was taken into police custody where he is being heard under charges of corruption during his reign as the Mauritanian president. Mohamed Abdelaziz was taken into police custody where he is being heard under charges of corruption during his reign as the Mauritanian president. The former president of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania, who is currently in dispute with his successor, head of state Mohammed Sheikh El Ghazouani, and had recently failed in his attempt to take over the Democratic Socialist Unionist Party, recently was summoned by the Economic Crime Squad. Brought in on the eve of a scheduled press conference, some believe the public address, which was unable to take place, was organized as a means of his public defense in anticipation of his arrest. Mohammed Abdelaziz, accused of plundering the nation's resources and having awarded a series of large private contracts in contravention of the law during his reign between 2008 and 2019, is being heard in the villa on the grounds of the police academy in Nouakchott, a site where he himself had kept Abdullahi Senussi, boss of Libyan military intelligence under Gaddafi's reign, before handing him over to Libya for $200 million. At least 45 migrants, including 5 children, have died in the deadliest shipwreck off Libya so far this year, the United Nations Agency for Refugees said. They were among more than 80 people on board a vessel whose engine exploded off the coast of Zara, the UNHCR said. The deaths were reported by some 37 survivors rescued by local fishermen. Both UNHCR and International Organization for Migration have called for search and rescue efforts for migrants to be stepped up. They said that without a dedicated search and rescue operation mechanism, more lives will be lost in the Mediterranean. More than 300 people are known to have died trying to cross the sea from Libya to Europe this year, with the actual figure believed to be much higher. Since the 2011 overthrow and killing of its former leader, Muammar Gaddafi, Libya has become a key transit country for migrants. But conditions for migrants there are dangerous, with the UNHCR and the IOM warning that they were at a risk of ongoing conflict, severe human rights violation, and arbitrary detention post-disembarkation. The survivors on Wednesday's shipwreck, who were mainly from Senegal, Mali, Chad, and Ghana, were detained after they disembarked in Libya. There are reports of migrants being treated appallingly in Libya, especially if they fall into the hands of militiamen and traffickers who abuse them and try to extort money from them. Jihadis have taken hundreds of civilians hostage from a town in northeast Nigeria, locals and militia sources said Wednesday. Militants from the Islamic State of West African Province, an offshoot of Boko Haram, arrived in Kukawa in the Lake Chad region late on Tuesday with 22 trucks and were locked in a battle with guards securing the area, said Babakura Kolu, head of a local militia. The people who were seized had just returned to their homes after spending nearly 2 years in displacement camps. A local chief who accompanied the residents to the town said the people had returned with the hope of cultivating their farmlands, only to end up in the hands of the insurgents. Hundreds of others have now fled the area. Over the last decade, many people have fled to squalid displacement camps where they rely on handouts from international charities. Around 2 million people have fled their homes in Nigeria due to the decade-long jihadist conflict. That is the much